Has Joe Milton turned the corner? Is this truly a Jaylen Wright, Dylan Sampson backfield? And what's to come with Missouri just 2 weeks away? Those questions and more at your mailbag edition of Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. It is your team every single day. Can't thank you enough for being here and making Locked On Vols your first listen. As always, shout out to everydayers for consuming this podcast on YouTube, subscribing as well, and wherever you get your podcast. Need to make that push to 10K. We're at 9,400. 400 in the last couple weeks. Can't thank you enough for the subscriptions to the YouTube channel. Let's get to 10,000 at least before the season's over and have some momentum heading into the offseason challenge. By the season's end, let's get to 10,000. Can't thank you enough for your support already here on Locked On Vols. And as always, big thank you to Game Time for being a proud sponsor of the show. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Got a fun show today. Best of Josh Heupel. Going to hear a lot of what he had to say in Monday's press conference, and then your mailbag questions right here on the show. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. Josh Heupel spoke at his Monday press conference a lot about the game in Kentucky and what's to come moving on through the rest of the season. Not a whole lot of talk on UConn, but a lot of good things about what he liked and what he didn't like from the Kentucky win. First, I do want to start with the quarterback, Joe Milton. Again, 18 of 21, 228 yards and a touchdown. He was really, really sharp throwing the football through the air. He was good running the football. And Josh Heupel spoke on that about how he's continued to get better. And then the back half of his answer is about him throwing outside of the pocket, where he was really good on Saturday. Here's what Josh Heupel had to say about his quarterback in Joe Milton.
Continued growth. There's been a lot of moving parts in front of him. There's been a lot of moving parts out on the perimeter. Just continued growth, throughout the season, getting comfortable, being in sync with those guys. The fine details of it. Saturday night we created explosive plays on scramble drills. We hadn't done that in a long time, and maybe since we've gotten here at that level. And wide receivers breaking off the routes, doing the right thing when Joe breaks contain. Joe was, uber efficient, great with his eyes, good fundamentally, and extremely accurate with the football. It was a really good performance by him. Well, I just think, fundamentally he's gotten better over his time here, everybody being in sync and breaking off gives him the ability to make some of those plays. But being a guy that is more comfortable when he breaks contain of not just being a run-first guy, but keeping his eyes down the football field allows those things to happen too. Being able to get in a good fundamental position when he had time to. When you're on the run, there's going to be times where you're not too, and so those awkward throws, he's continued to improve upon.
Again, he's not Peyton Manning. He's never going to be Peyton Manning. He's not Hendon Hooker. He's never going to be Hendon Hooker. But again, I continue to say this. They didn't ask an awful lot of him, especially in the first half. They asked more as the game went on. They still called some shots, don't get me wrong, and he completed one to Chaz Nimrod, who beat the cornerback off the line of scrimmage. But, man, if you want to call him a game manager, he managed the game perfectly in that football game. His misses were not bad misses whatsoever. He was really, really good, and Josh Heupel kind of acknowledged that. Knowing you're going to need that Joe Milton moving forward to beat Missouri on the road, to beat Georgia at home, and finish this thing out the way that it needs to be finished. So a lot of good stuff there from your head coach on Joe Milton. What about Dylan Sampson, the way he finished the football game? Good Lord, 8 touches on that 13-play drive, on the last scoring drive, finishing off with a 12-yard touchdown. Man, critical moments, riding the hot hand. Yeah, sure, Jaylen Wright was a bit banged up, but still, Dylan Sampson has been a really, really good player for Tennessee. I think he's got a big, big future at Tennessee as well. And he's kind of that third option or second option, depending on what the week it is. That's what it feels like, at least. Here's what Josh Heupel had to say about Dylan Sampson, who just continues to get better and better and better, and it starts every single day of practice.
Yeah, consistency in who he is, the energy, the focus, the work habits, the practice habits. It's who he is every single day, so you know exactly what you're going to get on game day. That's the model of consistency is what you need to become the player in every moment that you want to be. He's been that. He's been a great leader. You guys have heard me say that. He's continued to grow, dynamic in his playmaking ability, That can be out of the backfield catching the football. That can be him running the football. You saw him run through tackles the other night. You saw him bounce off people and extend and make plays. And he was really good in pass protection too. So he's becoming a complete football player, and we got great trust in him. But we got great trust in all those backs too.
Yeah, he was running hard in that fourth quarter. He was running through guys. He was bouncing off guys. He was not coming down on first contact. And I've heard Josh Heupel a couple of times throughout the season, over the offseason, reference Dylan Sampson being a leader. And that's not just coach talk. I mean, he's a part of the leadership council on the football team. He's a part of Vol Leaders, which is a really big deal on campus. You see him down there being a rah-rah guy, in huddles and stuff. And to be such a young guy, man, the maturity there, and you can just sense it whenever he speaks to the media. So he's a good kid, super easy to root for. One more thing about the game, 2 more audio clips I do want to play here for you. This one's short and sweet. Dante Thornton bumped to the outside and had his best game from a production standpoint. He looked really, really good in what he was doing. Josh Heupel was pleased with his performance, and also, what he was doing when the ball wasn't in his hands. Quick little note here from Josh Heupel on Dante Thornton, and hopefully this can be a sign to come.
Dante had a really nice performance. I thought he did a really good job with the ball not in his hands. And when the ball came his way, he made plays. He was comfortable and performed extremely well.
Tennessee needs Dante Thornton to continue to play well. I mean, especially with the loss of Brew McCoy. I mean, even before the loss of Brew McCoy, you needed Dante Thornton. You hadn't gotten anything out of him, anything at all so far this year, really prior to last game. I know he had a nice catch against Florida, but, I mean, seriously, he was under 100 receiving yards heading into the game against Kentucky. That's obviously he almost doubled his receiving total in one game. So hopefully that's a sign to come. Last thing I want to play for you here. The first time that we really had the opportunity to ask Josh Heupel about an injury to Kamal Hadden. We're going to ask him in post-game, obviously, after the Kentucky game. But Josh Heupel kind of reacting to, of course, Kamal Hadden needing season-ending surgery and how disappointing that is. Not only because he's one of Tennessee's best defenders this year, but also you just hate it for the human being.
Yeah, extremely disappointed for him. That's, a young guy that came into our program that's continued to grow on the field, but off the field too. He was playing his best football. You just hate seeing that, the season ends up being taken away. And so that's hard for those guys emotionally. And, they missed the opportunity just to be in the locker room and be with the guys. So, your heart goes out to them. I thought the guys that had the opportunity to play stepped in and did some really good things. We're going to need to continue to grow there, too, to perform the way that we want to down the stretch.
It's awful that he's going to miss the rest of the season. Again, he was Tennessee's best cornerback. You hate to see anybody get hurt. You hate to see anybody miss the season. It's unfortunate, but, Kamal Hadden has won over a lot of fans, and people will still remember the South Carolina game. People will still remember him not wrapping up at Florida. I get all that. But he goes from getting booed in the starting lineups, tweeting about it after that game, whatever game it was, one of those home games this year, and obviously, not attacking fans or anything, but saying, hey, I hear him, it fuels me, all that type of stuff. And then, coming back and tweeting his appreciation for Tennessee fans for the support through his injury, for the support while he's been here at Tennessee. It's kind of been a 180, heel turn a little bit, and that's really, really good to see. So hate that for Kamal Hadden, but the first time we had a chance to ask Josh Heupel about it at the podium. Hey, when we come back, your mailbag questions. We got tons in segments 2 and 3 to get into. That and a whole lot more is coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Do want to tell you about our friends at Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets to your next event. Not only a sporting event, but theater, comedy, shows, all that type of stuff. You can get all those tickets, last-minute deals, killer deals, promos as well over on the Game Time app. That's gametime.com, or you can download the app. So I talk about this all the time. There's so many events going on at Thompson Bowling Arena at the Food City Center. Yes, you have the Tennessee men's basketball team coming off that exhibition win at Michigan State this past weekend without your 2 best players. Boy, a lot to be excited about. Hopefully there's some metaphoric, I thought I said simile. No, that's not it. Metaphoric fireworks inside TBA this year. But anyway, you have the men's basketball team, you have the Lady Vols, you have the volleyball team, all that. But also, there's monster truck rallies, there's concerts. There's so much that happens inside Thompson Bowling Arena. And for those events all year long, you can find tickets to those events by downloading the Game Time app. Again, it's last-minute killer deals, all in process, views from your seat, the best price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying your tickets. I encourage you to download the Game Time app today, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, guys, welcome back to your Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here. Shout out everydayers. This show literally would not be operational without you guys listening every single day and supporting it. I say it all the time. I promise it's not lip service. The fact that I get to get on here in front of a camera, behind a microphone, and talk Tennessee athletics, talk Tennessee football every single day of the year, and I get paid to do it, it's a freaking blessing. And it's because of you guys, so I can't thank you enough. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers about Locked On Vols. All right, when you get to take over the show each and every day, Tuesday is your day, everydayers. Let's get into it. Trevor, longtime listener, longtime everydayer. He was an everydayer before everydayers was a thing here on Locked On Vols. Trevor, appreciate you. He said, hey, for Twitter Tuesday, watching the basketball game, and they've said Vescovy is back home for personal reasons. It's close to the start of the season. Is there any reason to worry about him missing some time at the start of the season? Well, here's the thing. He had, a personal, a death in the family was upcoming essentially, and wanted to go home and be with family when that situation was happening, to my understanding. And Uruguay's not, just a bus ride away. It's kind of, difficult. Travel can be difficult, if you know what I'm saying. So, we'll see. I haven't heard anything to suggest that he's going to miss time. I haven't heard anything to suggest that, okay, he's going to be back no matter what. But the season is, just right around the corner. If he's going to miss a game or two, I think it's just going to be that. He will not miss a lot. He's going home to be with family right now during this tough time, and just kind of letting that situation play out, and then he's going to be back. So to answer your question, I can't tell you if he's going to miss a game or not. I would imagine he's probably not going to miss. If he misses a game, it's not going to be much. If he misses any time, it's just the travel is kind of the thing you got to deal with there. Let's go to Braden. Braden, another longtime everydayer. From a depth standpoint, what seniors are going to hurt the most to lose this year? Okay. We talk about it a couple of times. There's some defensive linemen that I do believe will come back. I don't believe Tyler Barron's coming back, but Elijah Simmons, Bryson Eason, Omar Norman Lott, Omari Thomas, all those guys have another year, the COVID year, if they want to use it. Now, will all those guys come back? I don't know. I can't say that, but I do believe some of those guys will come back. Same on the offensive line. Technically, Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, John Campbell, and Gerald Mincy all have another year left. Do I think more of those guys will come back than the defensive line? No, I do not. Do I think all those guys are gone? I don't know. We'll see. Do I think one or two could come back? Potentially. We'll just see how this year plays out. Everybody's different. You got to talk. You got to look at your draft prospects. Got to talk with your family. Guys, NIL is a thing now. I mean, it's really is this type of deal. But, Tennessee would welcome back with open arms Gerald Mincy, of course Cooper Mays, of course Javonte Spraggins, and of course John. I mean, they would welcome back with open arms any of those guys for sure. Dane Davis will be back. Andre Keurig will be back. I think J.J. Crawford's out of eligibility. But of those guys who play on the offensive line, you hope a couple of those guys come back. We'll see. Also, you'll lose Ramel Keaton. You'll lose Dante Thornton. I thought would be gone to the NFL this year, but that's not going to happen. I would assume Dante Thornton's going to be back. Jacob Warren and McCallum Katz. So from a depth perspective right here, it's tight end. You've got to hit the transfer portal and find another tight end for sure. Because Ethan Davis is going to play a lot next year, but you're losing Jacob Warren and McCallum Castles, and the importance of the tight end position in this room, or for this team in this offense, 100%. So tight end is the answer to your question. Offensive line will be number 2, and then you'll need to hit up the secondary. You'll always take a defensive lineman if you can, but you'll need to hit up the secondary. Wesley Walker, Jaylen McCullough, they're going to be gone after this year. You got some young guys that you like, but not a whole lot of experience back there, if you will. So, and of course, a cornerback as well. Kamal Hadden, we mentioned, Gabe Judy-Lawley. I think he's got another year. I'll have to check on that. Danico Slaughter has another year if he wants it, but safety for sure. The second part of your question: what is your dream matchup for a bowl game this year for us? I think Tennessee. If you get the double-digit wins, you want to go back to a New Year's Six bowl. But if you finish 9-3, I would love to see Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl. Love to see Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl. Need to see Tennessee in the state of Florida. I don't have a matchup for you right now. I'm just thinking more bowl games. Man, I wanted to see. You always want to see some old school matchup. Like Tennessee Clemson last year was exciting. It wasn't old school, but that was exciting, right? You want to see those type of matchups. And I think if you get to the state of Florida, even if you have 8 wins, you're still looking at, which Tennessee, in my opinion, is going to have 9 wins, but 8 wins is the floor. You could still play in the Outback Bowl with 8 wins because it's Tennessee. So we'll see. Just need to get to the month or to the state of Florida. Matchup, I mean, depending on, of course, every single bowl has those conference tie-ins. I don't know. I would like to see Tennessee. Tennessee, Wisconsin's fun. That's always one that's kind of popular. There was some talk about Tennessee, North Carolina last year. Tennessee, Wake Forest last year, a little bit with some talk if they went to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, but that was early in the season because Tennessee, of course, went on and had a great year. But I thought that, or maybe that was 2021. Maybe that was 2021. 2 high-flying offenses. I remember that was going to be fun. Anytime that's going to give us a fun product, if you will. Let's go to Alan. Alan and I were talking about officiating and lack thereof in the previous conversation. He says, "All right, I'm not gonna pursue any more discussion on the it was the sign stealing stuff, Michigan, South Carolina, until some concrete comes around." We'll have another question about that here in a moment. He said, "Now that we're bowl eligible, which states of bowls do you see us being a realistic candidate for by the end of the year?" Yeah, it kind of goes along with what I was just saying. State of Florida, again, I think Outback Bowl at minimum, because I think Outback Bowl would just love to have Tennessee with 8 wins. But I'm looking at Citrus, and then a New Year's Six Bowl. Hi, Eric. Twitter Tuesday question. Another one. What bowl do you see the Vols will end up playing in? I used to write all these down, and I would just kind of cross these off. But a lot of bowl questions here for Tennessee, and of course, I've already answered that. Let's go to bookmarks here. Adam says, "Is Charles Campbell our offensive MVP? The A&M and Kentucky game might have gone differently if not for his consistency this year. He's the only one that can score in the red zone. What is the cause of our red zone woes? Does the staff just not trust Joe to let it rip?" I wouldn't say they don't trust Joe to let it rip, because they have called pass plays down there, called one to Jacob Warren at Alabama, and he just missed him. Again, I'm still convinced Jacob Warren can go up and make that catch, but that was a bad throw, things are tighter. Tennessee struggles to run the football in short yardage situations to begin with. Tennessee did get in from the 12-yard line with Dylan Sampson last week, so that was good to see. You just need to have some more creativity and just, go make a play at the end of the day. You got to go make some plays. I don't have a concrete answer for you. It's just Tennessee struggles in short yardage situations where, it's a man-on-man to block, and windows are tight a little bit. As far as Charles Campbell, offensive MVP, no, that's Jaylen Wright in my opinion. But yeah, Charles Campbell's been a great addition from the portal. Tennessee kid, good to see, have success in the Big Ten, come home for your last year. He hasn't made a 50-yarder or 50-plus yarder to my knowledge. If memory serves me correct, he's missed, I want to say, 2 at plus 50. I'll double check on that. But anyway, he's been really consistent. He's been good. And of course, every one of his field goals, just the next one was the biggest one because Tennessee relied on them so much. Well-deserved SEC Special Teams Player of the Week honors. He is not the offensive MVP. I see where you're going with that. I'd still go with Jaylen Wright, because could you imagine Jaylen Wright getting 25 carries a game? Again, I think because Tennessee does timeshare in the backfield, it allows those guys to be as good as they are. But, I mean, he's going to coast to 1,000 yards, and he only gets a third of the carries, really, All right, let's go to Daniel. This will be the last one here for this segment, then we'll get into segment 3. Daniel says, "It seems Coach Josh Heupel is as frustrated with the terrible and some would argue biased officiating as any coach I've seen. Is there anything that can be done to address these issues? And does Danny White have any avenues for complaints? There should be accountability for this." Yeah, we've talked about it all week long, specifically the last 2 weeks. Officiating's been horrible across the league, really across college football. It's been bad. And I often don't comment on it because, again, I don't like to go cry ref. But, I mean, it's just kind of a given this year, and it's unfortunate. Yes, I agree with you. Accountability should be there. Will there ever be? I don't know. Is it going to happen this Saturday? No. Do I think the white hat should get up there and go to a 5-minute press conference at the end of the game? Absolutely. Do I think the SEC head of officiating should make public comment on calls that are lack thereof that have effects on football games? Absolutely, I should. But it's never happened. And I don't see it changing in the near future. As far as avenues to complain, yeah, I mean, there's back channels. I mean, presidents and ADs, they all talk to one another. They know people at the league office. You send in plays every single year. And if you continue to see the same play sent in by multiple teams, maybe you address that with the rules committee in the offseason. If you continue to see plays sent in by the same officiating crew that missed or whatever the call or had a bad call, then the league will look into getting rid of that crew because they're not good. I mean, these officials, I mean, quick sidebar here. I know a couple of officials that they're both I know two retired officials personally. One used to referee a lot of games in the ACC. The other was an SEC official. I have been with one of these gentlemen on a game day before, and I've seen everything that goes into being an official at this level. I mean, it's strategic. It's a lot. There's meetings. There's personal escorts. They get graded on their performance. I mean, I've seen what goes into it. I mean, a lot of people, I think, just say they just believe they show up and go out there and do a horrible job and then leave. There's a lot that goes into it, but it needs to be better for sure. And so if enough of these plays get turned in, if enough of these crews get turned in, then that's when you see change. But as far as accountability for Saturday or last Saturday, and that's not going to happen. But I do wish the White Hat would get up there and talk, because we get to criticize players, we get to criticize coaches. They have to take accountability for that. I think officials, it's only fair. It's only fair. Guys, when we come back, we'll continue to get into your questions, more of your questions, comments, concern, all that and more coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Do want to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. Let me say that again for you. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's easy, guys. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get into that action than right now. The app is so easy and fun to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props. I talk about that one a lot, totals with those overs, unders, and a whole lot more. To get started today, I encourage you to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. One more time, FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season today. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. All right, guys, we got a final segment left here of this edition of Locked On Vols. We're taking your mailbag questions when you guys get to take over the show. Can't thank you enough for that. Let's shoot right down to Noah, looking at next year. How likely is it that we see Brew come back? Also, over under second-round pick on Jaylen Wright. I'll start with Brew, and I honestly think it's too early right now. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but I mean, how does his rehab go? What's that timeline for him getting back and running, getting back and cutting, getting back to run some routes? We just don't know the answers to that question. It was a gruesome injury. If this is something that's truly going to keep him out, like well into the summer or something, maybe we see him come back. If this is something that's going to miss, I mean, I don't see how in the world he can be ready for a pro day, but maybe he can. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. That's something to track for sure, because I think it's a real possibility he could come back. I just think it's too early to tell. Over under second round pick on Jaylen Wright. I will say, I don't know, man. He's added some weight. He's become an all around back. He hasn't lost speed. I'll say over, meaning 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. But if he continues to finish this season out strong and he declares for the NFL draft, he won't be a first rounder. I understand there was a top 10 running back last year, but typically they don't like to waste an investment on a running back in the first round. But if he finishes strong, who knows? But I would say probably over for now. All right, let's go to Mason. Doesn't this year's Washington team remind you of the Vols last year? Obviously, defense is better, but for some reason they seem to be similar to me. Yeah, explosive offense, really dynamic at the quarterback position, a guy that can make plays on the run, extend plays, escapability. They run the football not as well as Tennessee did, but they run the football pretty well. Yeah, I can see the similarities for sure. That's an exciting football team to watch. Let's go to Jared. On the offensive side of the ball, it seems like incorporating the running backs more in the passing game helps us out when the receivers aren't able to get some separation down the field. Could this be key for us moving forward and having more success in the passing game? I'm all for it. You saw a couple of plays where Jaylen Wright and or Dylan Sampson lined up in the slots. That was interesting. Nice little wrinkle that we haven't seen so far this year. There was one play in the red zone. The play went nowhere, but Jaylen Wright lined up in the slot and Jacob Warren was in the backfield. We've seen in the previous 2 years at points in times towards the red zone, tight end will line up in at H-back, at not even H-back, at running back, aside from the quarterback and shotgun. We'll see. But that third down reception by Dylan Sampson was just magnificent. It was huge. Good acknowledgement by Joe Milton to see that, to hit that and go get it. I'm for it, but man, if Dante Thornton and Ramel, if Dante Thornton continues to progress and you get confident Ramel Keaton, man, your receivers aren't bad, but we just need to find some consistency there. Consistency more than anything. Let's see here. Heupel's hype man says, it's just me, or does it feel like Joe is finally turning the corner? Last 2 weeks he's been good. He's been good in spurts this year. You saw good Joe here, you saw bad Joe here, you saw good Joe here. Last 2 weeks he's been good. So, I mean, hopefully we'll see. I mean, if he puts it together for a third straight game, I think you can say he's turned the corner. Again, will he ever be elite? No. Okay. Will he ever be good and a reason that you can win games? Yes, I do believe that. In the last 2 weeks, he's been good. The last 2 weeks he has been good. We'll continue on with Heupel's hype man. Do you think this is the week we finally get to see Nico play a large amount of snaps? Man, you best believe it. And that's, again, I was just talking about Joe. That's nothing like I'm not rooting for a quarterback controversy here. Absolutely not. But you need to see Nico play significant football. More than just 2 or 3 series with the third string when he's getting drilled. You need to see Nico with some playmakers around him. You need to see Nico with some blockers in front of him. And so I hope they throw him in there with, gotta be great if Tennessee's up 3 scores or whatever late in the second quarter and you throw Nico in there with the first team offensive line. I love to see that. But more than anything, he needs to play a half of football. Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson, John Slaughter, Cam Selden, Ethan Davis, all these guys, Aaron Carter and Jeremiah T-Lander, Jaylen Smith, Caleb Perry, all those guys need to play linebacker in the second half. This needs to be a game where you get some guys in there to play some football and to see what you got. Kurt says, if you had to put money on one or the other today, would you bet that Tennessee finishes 8-4 or Tennessee finishes 10-2? Missouri was already looking like a tough matchup before Hadden went down. So Tennessee is at 6-2 right now. Vanderbilt and UConn will be 8 wins. So essentially, are you saying is Tennessee going to split, go 2-0 or 0-2 against Missouri on the road and Georgia at home? What a great question. And again, it was all or nothing. There's no 9-3 in there because you know I'd take that. Man, I think this weekend will tell us a lot, right? I do not think Georgia is as good as it's been the last 2 years. Georgia also lost its best player. Having said that, I still think Georgia's the best team in the league. Missouri's much improved. It's on the road. That environment at the zoo is not going to be anything. I'll just go ahead and say it right now. I don't know. I'm half glass full. I'll say 10-2. I don't know. Well, no. See, this is a good question. You got me second guessing here. Had Tennessee not gone on the road, and I know it was just Kentucky if you want to slant it that way, but Tennessee went on the road in this league and won a game with your defense not playing poorly. You got really good production out of your offense. For the second straight week, the environment did not affect your offense whatsoever. Had Tennessee not done that at Kentucky, I think I'd be more inclined to say 8-4. But Tennessee handled the road environment each of the past 2 weeks. Tennessee finally got a road game. Tennessee runs the football like that, like you're capable of, and context is key. But you know, Kentucky's rush defense was pretty stout. Then I like Tennessee's chances against anybody. I'll answer your question. Let's go half glass full. I will go 10-2. Just a couple more here. I'm going to try to move through it fast to make sure we get everybody. Have to go over to Locked On Vols account. Have to check in with my dude, Bruce on the Loose. Everydayer before Everydayers was a thing. Talk to me about recruiting. Where are we at with the offensive line? I fear that next year our offense is going to take a step back from this year. Yeah, I kind of spoke on it a little bit. Essentially, the offensive lineman that you need to know about that's a big get. Tennessee's already got, I think, 4 commits on the offensive line. I'll devote a segment later this week talking recruiting. It's been a minute since I've done that. But Bennett Warren, really highly guarded offensive tackle from the state of Texas. Really nice player. He's one to watch. He's already committed. Jordan Seaton, the #1 offensive tackle in the class. He goes to IMG Academy. Tennessee is very much in that one. Tennessee will have to work and try to win that one by National Signing Day. But if you're able to get him, that would be just ginormous. That'd be huge. But Tennessee's pretty decent on the offensive line right now. If you get that one, they'll be great. Recruiting-wise, Tennessee's got a top 10 class, about 4th or 5th in the SEC right now. Trying to close out with the Jordan Seatons, the Cam Michaels, and trying to get another wide receiver, of course, and trying to finish off this class the right way. But I'll talk more recruiting as the week goes on. I'll spend a segment on that. And then finally, I'll get into a couple of your YouTube questions. Again, don't have a whole lot of time here. Vols fan in Georgia says, why do we think D was fair catching those kickoffs? I think that was coaching. I think they told him to do that. I don't know why you would. I'd let D Williams return everything. But if you remember last year, Jimmy Holiday fair caught pretty much everything. So maybe that has something to do with that. Do you think we see him possession this week against UConn? I would, just to give somebody something to prepare for. I'd throw a gadget in there against UConn. You got nothing to lose. A little end around, reverse, whatever with D. Williams. So give Georgia, Missouri something to prepare for. I would this week. I think it's the perfect week. I understand people saying, hold it, wait for that trick play, wait for later in the season. Let's put it in our back pocket. I believe, put it on film, make them prepare for it. Make them take away from time and practice to prepare for it. Shot by Andrew says, after watching it back again, I noticed we're still having issues turning around to defend the ball by missing some easy interceptions that lead to big catches. What's your opinion on that? Yeah, you got to turn around and look for the ball. Number one, to know where you're at. Number two, because it is a penalty. Face guarding is a penalty, and you can get called for it. I understand you don't want to turn your head because you slow down. I get that. So when you're trailing a wide receiver, you're playing the hands. If you're watching on YouTube right now, when the hands go up, that's when you swat. You're playing the hands, and so I get it. But turn around, find the ball, make a pick. That's just something that Tennessee's cornerbacks haven't done an awful lot. And they do sometimes, but, I mean, over the years, I think Willie Martinez teaches a lot of the times to, if you're playing from behind, if you don't have confidence in where you are right now, play the hands. Don't lose a step turning around. But you're never going to get interceptions unless you turn around and find the ball. And then lastly, two more. Strickland 27, do you think UConn is the worst team Tennessee's played this year? Yes, I do. Virginia wasn't good, but had a big win a couple weeks ago. UTSA was not good when Tennessee played them, but they're much better than that, I believe. Austin Peay's down a level, but it's a pretty good program. Was really good last year. UConn is not very good. It's 1-7, and the numbers are not good. More on UConn as the week goes on. Robo 22, we'll end with this one. How do you think Michigan's scandal will affect college football in the end, and in what ways? Yeah, I think people are going to get fired. I think that if you can prove a lot of what you've already proved some, if you can continue to uncover more things, I mean, I think there's going to be some firings for sure. And I do think that you're going to see technology inside the helmet, middle linebackers and quarterbacks like you see in the NFL. And do you think Hadden not playing led to the poor secondary play? Sure, it helped out a little bit, but overall, none of those guys played well back there. Safeties were slow getting over. Defensive line didn't get much of a rush. And I understand there was some play action. There were some 3-step drops. I get all that. But you were just slow. I thought you were really slow at the safety position and a cornerback in that football game. One man's not going to make up for all that, but sure, you'd rather have him out there. And then lastly, how do you see the baseballs flying up and positioning playing out? Good Lord, guys. It is October 31st, but a lot to be changed. But okay, I'll entertain it right here. Again, I think a lot of guys will platoon. I think a lot of guys will DH. Again, these are not starters for 56, 57, however many games there are in the regular season, all right? I think Cannon Peebles will eventually be your catcher. I think Burke's at first base. I think Moore will start the season at shortstop until proven otherwise. That means I think Brad Key Lowry or Ariel Antigua or Alex Perry. One of those guys will play second base, or if Moore's at second, one of those guys will play short. For the sake of it right now, I'll go Brad Key Lowry. I think Billy Amick's your third baseman. Zane Denton's still not with the team right now, still not doing the scrimmages and stuff with the baseball team, but I'll go Billy Amick at third base. Your outfield, Dylan Dreiling will be one of those guys. Hunter Inslee will be one of those guys. And the big question, you got Kavaris Tears, you got Reese Chapman. I'll go Tears in right field, knowing Reese Chapman will play a ton. And again, there's Dalton Barga who's going to play. There's there's a lot of guys who I didn't even mention that I still think are going to play big roles for this baseball team. So, and of course, you're going to have Drew Beam, AJ Russell, and then I'll go the number 3 starter right now is Nate Snead, the transfer from Wichita State. All right. Can't thank you enough for making Locked On Vols what it is. You guys are awesome. Shout out to Everydayers. We'll do it again next Tuesday when you guys get to take over the show. Tomorrow's Locked On Vols, Ward Wednesday. Pro Football Focus Wednesday. We'll take back the stats that mattered from Tennessee's win over Kentucky. That and a whole lot more coming up on tomorrow's show. Guys, can't thank you enough. Until Wednesday, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everybody.